What's up, y'all? This is Hammer here again, back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about this whole concept of it's about class, not race. Now, if you guys have ever come across, white leftists or white people on the left or white socialists, folks who are super progressive on the left, what you will hear is this phrase, right? It's about race. It's about class, not race. You gotta stop focusing on race and all that rhetoric, right? And the reason I want to talk about this into this video is because, as you well know, right, we had the whole Luigi Mangino situation where this um, white guy essentially went out here and killed a CEO, and of course, folks were celebrating online and saying, "Oh yes, this is amazing," and eat the rich. And for those who may be confused, the reason why folks were celebrating is because apparently y'all can tell if I'm wrong in the chat, but based on my understanding, the CEO was essentially he was the CEO of United Healthcare, which is a major healthcare company, and because people in this country have a lot of issue when it comes to the healthcare system, have a lot of issues when it comes to healthcare insurance, all that kind of stuff. This CEO who's a CEO of a major, healthcare company being killed, for a lot of people out there who've had bad experiences with the healthcare system, they saw it as like, fighting the system. It became like this symbol of resistance, fighting back, right? And one thing I did see was how a lot of white leftists are like, oh, this is great, a growing number of people in the country are now starting to have class consciousness, right? Now, of course, as they were saying all of this, um, people like me had to step in and say, hold on now. I know you guys are trying to say that it's about class, not race. There's a growing, level of class consciousness, but what y'all are really trying to do is you guys are trying to avoid the race conversation just like the right. Because let's just think about it for example, right? You have white conservatives on the right who, they don't even hide it, right? They'll just come out and say, hey, we're trying to maintain white supremacy. Is white first. They run with white identity politics. They don't hide it. So they obviously make it very clear what they're about. And then you got the left who, they will say, oh, what about the quote unquote minority groups, this multiracial, diverse coalition. But they will do that as long as it doesn't affect the actual white power structure and as long as it's still under the control of white supremacy. So in other words, they believe in white supremacy and they believe in maintaining the white power structure. They just believe in quote unquote, a more docile version that includes, non-white people essentially. So what you really have between the West and the right and the West and the left is both of them support white supremacy, but they just have different ways of how to manage a system. The West and the right are just more blatant about it. The West and the left have a much more docile version of white supremacy, one that includes more people, but it's still white supremacy. Um, I personally believe that the reason why these two ends, of the political spectrum, have these two styles of management when it comes to white supremacy, I think it's one ideology, just the ideological position of conservatism. I think, creates a much more, I think, blatant and straightforward way of managing white supremacy, which is, what we see as blatant white national, blatant white identity politics. And liberalism, I think, creates a much more softer, docile, inclusive way of quote unquote managing white supremacy, which is, bring the blacks and the minorities in, but we're still gonna be at the top. And I think another reason why I think both sides, in addition, of course, to the in other words, the ideological difference between the right and the left, you know, pro, pro, the ideological differences between the right and the left, lay the foundation as to in regards to the different management styles of white supremacy when it comes to white liberals and white conservatives, right? Then on top of that, you also have the fact that because most white folks vote Republican, and quote unquote the Democratic Party has to rely on more minority voters. That also influences the management style. So in other words, whites on the left and whites on the right both believe in white supremacy, but they just have different ways of managing it, right? Whites on the right have a much more blatant way. Whites on the left have a much more, you know, docile software of managing white supremacy. And the two reasons why West on the left and West on the right have these two management styles when it comes to white supremacy is one, ideology. The ideology of conservatism and liberalism play a role as to why the West and the left and the West and the right have different management styles when it comes to managing white supremacy. And on top of that, demographics, right? The way the demographics vote, whether it's white folks mostly going to the right and minorities mostly going to the left, also play a role as to why the West and the left and the West and the right have different management styles when it comes to managing white supremacy. So in other words, white people on the left and the right both believe in white supremacy. The only difference is how they manage it. And the ideological difference and the different demographics on both sides, right? And because different demographic, groups on both sides, help to shape why the West and the left and the West and the right have different quote unquote ways of managing white supremacy. So when you have folks talking about it's about class, not race, that's just another quote unquote docile version of white supremacy. Well, once again, what you're essentially saying is, we're willing to address class issues because that includes everyone and includes black folks and minority folks, but we will not address the racial issue because that has to do with white supremacy, and we essentially are on court with that, right? Because that's what that comes down to. What down to is that because the whites on the right, they'll make it very clear, hey, we are pro-white on race and on class. Even when it comes to class issues, we're focusing only on white folks. But when it comes to the left, when they say, okay, let's focus on, it's about class, not race, what you're really saying, look, we are more inclusive when it comes to everyone when it comes to class issues, but we still won't touch that racial conversation. So all this really comes down to is just another more docile way of white supremacy. In other words, you are willing to, include more people into a coalition from the lens of class, but you have no intention of actually challenging the sort of racial hierarchy, the racial power structure, right? That's why you avoid that. So when I hear white leftists and white liberals and them talking about it's about class, not race, for me, I just view that as just another way of this is just a more docile version of white supremacy. That's all it is, right? So that's the first part. The second part is, but just to confirm, just to reiterate, right? Once again, when you hear them white leftists say it's about class, not race, this is just another docile version of white supremacy, and I've already broken down the reasons why. But the second, point here, right, is that the reality is it's not class. It's not class over race, right? Let's really think about it, right? If it's really about class, not race, why is it that such a large percentage, if not a majority, of poor whites in this country vote Republican? Why is that the case? Because if we really think right, if you're a poor white person, your class interests align way more, and I mean way more, with economic progressive policies, whether it's social welfare, whether it's universal health, right? But yet, these poor whites will essentially vote, for things that benefits the billionaire and the wealthy. Look, Obviously, we know the left is also captured by the billionaires, but they at least are willing to push some policies that will help the economically disenfranchised. The right's not even doing that. So once again, the fact that these poor whites, right, are actively voting against their class interests and voting for a party whose policies in many ways don't align with their class interests shows you that they're not prioritizing class over race. What they're actually prioritizing is race first, meaning I don't care if I'm a white dude living in a trailer park. As long as white supremacy or white privilege is protected, I'm good. As long as I feel like, hey, me being in this trailer park still makes me better than the next black man because I'm white, I'm good. Why do you think that a lot of people, especially white people in this country, oppose universal health care so much, even though they will all benefit from it, right? Why? The reason is because they don't want black folks, they don't want minority groups to benefit from it. Look at black people. They're actively willing, and this is what makes the whole Luigi Mangione shit so retarded to me, right? They're just, these white folks just celebrating, kill that CEO, because we're being fucked up by healthcare. But the irony is, the reason you're being fucked up by healthcare is because every single attempt to better the healthcare system, you guys have fought because you did not want black folks to benefit. So you actively allow the healthcare system to be this fucked up because you did not want black people to, because you felt like any improvement to the healthcare system will benefit black folks, which you did not want. Even though you would benefit, you cared more about the fact that black folks or now what he will benefit, right? And that concerned you more. So you are willing to essentially shut that shit down and let everything the way it is now. But then you want to complain about shit being the way it is? But you made it very clear that you had no interest in bettering the healthcare system, even if it benefited you, because you did not want the blacks or the quote-unquote non-whites to benefit. And you actively succeeded in knocking that shit out. And then to have the audacity to cry about the healthcare system, it's insane to you. As well as celebrate the CEO's death. That's why I don't sympathize with these folks so much. I want to know, you had the choice. There has always been a push for better health system, right? And you guys wanted to stick it to the blacks and stick it to non-white people. You shut that shit down. So okay, fine. Then you get the system you deserve. All this fucking crying, I don't want to hear that. Because what it sounds like to me is what y'all really want is you want the healthcare system to be specifically fixed and made better for white folks while simultaneously excluding everybody else. That's what y'all really want. And because you feel like you can't get it, you're essentially going to say, fuck it, let everything the way. Okay, fine. But then, when we let everything the way it is, right, and you have to start dealing with the effects of us leaving everything the way it is, all of a sudden now it's a problem. All of a sudden now you want to celebrate because Luigi shot some CEO of a healthcare group. And by the way, it's not going to change. Because again, until we actually reform the healthcare, as long as y'all are opposed to reform the healthcare system because you don't want the blacks to benefit or the non-whites to benefit, guess what? The problem continues. Right? So no, it's not about class or race. It's about race over class. Also, another reason we know it's about race over class is because one most importantly, the race of Luigi. Let me ask you a question. If Luigi Mangione was a black dude, and he pulled up and gunned down that white CEO, do you want me to believe that there will be all this unity? The only reason why white folks on the left and the right are so unified is because one, they have their own personal issues with healthcare system. But number two, Luigi's white, and the CEO's white. If Luigi was a black dude and he pulled up and he gunned down that white CEO, first of all, the whites on the right would have flipped out. All of that healthcare shit would not fucking matter. All they would have seen is a black dude, quote unquote, a black guy shooting a white CEO. And instantly they would have said, oh my God, there's a race war. Oh my God, they hate us. Oh my God, they're just jealous. Oh my God, he's just jealous, right? He needs to pull himself by the bootstraps and stop trying to attack white people who are CEOs. That's all they would have seen. All of that healthcare stuff. Remember, The only reason why they're even able to see the whole healthcare dynamics is because both guys were white, Luigi and the CEO. If Luigi was black, all of that would have not mattered. All they would have seen was a black dude a black dude. Oh, and by the way, imagine if it was an average black dude, right? Because based on my understanding, Luigi was weird. So in other words, you have Luigi, who's apparently this privileged white dude. You have Luigi Mangione, who's apparently a privileged. You have Luigi Mangione, who was apparently a privileged white dude who was killing another privileged white dude who's a CEO. So of course, white people are gonna have, they're gonna have a neutral response. They're gonna, race becomes neutral in that situation. So obviously all the other issues like healthcare get brought to the front because race does not matter because it's a privileged white guy killing another privileged white guy. So all of a sudden now, all them other conversations, all those other conversations all of a sudden matter now. But if that was an average black dude, if Luigi was an average black dude and he shut down that white CEO, it would have the whites on the right would have been talking about race war, pull yourself by a bootstrap, revenge, the blacks from revenge, all kinds of racial conflicts, right? The entire message about the healthcare would have just been lost because the racial image of average black guy shooting a white CEO would have just completely dominating everything, right? And so the white right would have gone crazy with that. And then the West and the left, they would have spent their time trying to defend the black to say, oh, it wasn't about race, it was about healthcare. Same conversation. So the mere fact that Luigi Mangione was a quote unquote, privileged white guy shooting another quote unquote white CEO who was another privileged white guy mattered. And most importantly, it mattered because it showed you how it's not really about class, about race. Right? Because this supposed class consciousness, that only arose when the racial dynamics were neutral. If Luigi was a black dude, all of that class consciousness would have gone out the window. It would have instantly been a conversation about, how violent the blacks are. Like, let's be honest here. Race dominates everything else. That's the reason why even though white folks have undermined any attempts to really fix the healthcare system because they wanted to quote unquote stick it to the blacks and the quote unquote non-whites, they magically want to turn around and quote unquote cry about the system not having problems, even though they were the ones that blocked all attempts to make the system better just because they did not want the black people and the non-whites to benefit at all. And yet have the audacity to cry about the system having problems to a point in which they're just celebrating this white dude, shooting down the CEO of this other company. I mean, the hypocrisy is insane. I mean, could you imagine what's up with that? Like, imagine me, right? I don't want to better the healthcare of my country because I don't want this group to benefit from it. But at the same time, I want to complain about the healthcare system in my country being bad, even though I have fought all attempts to make it better because I did not want this specific group to benefit from it. And then when a guy shoots a CEO of a health company, I want to sit here and pretend as if I'm outraged about the problem of the healthcare system when the reality is the reason why the healthcare system has a problem is because I purposely block all attempts to make the healthcare system better because I did not want a group to benefit. That's what makes this entire Luigi shit, crazy. Is that white folks are literally complaining about something they created. They caused. You caused the healthcare system to quote unquote white people caused the healthcare system to have the problems the way it is just because they wanted to get black folks. Like, in other words, white people allowed the healthcare system to be this fucked up just to get at the blacks and the non-whites, and yet have the audacity to be angry at the system being fucked up, and then celebrate Luigi Mangione shooting the CEO of this health company because quote unquote they're angry about the system being fucked up, even though they're the ones that allowed the system to be fucked up because they wanted to quote unquote get the blacks and non-whites. That's the mentality of white folks, and it kills me, right? So all of that just shows me how, all that just shows you how, no, it's about race. Race is what takes precedent over class. And also to finish off, look, at the end of the day, look, none of this really going to change, right? Because let's keep it real. What you're essentially right now essentially is capitalism, right? Companies are always going to try to find ways to have profits. So as long as you're dealing in a capitalist system, yes, these healthcare companies, the system is always going to try and find the way to squeeze as much as they can out of the system. And if that comes at the expense of the patient or the average, then so be it. Right? That's the reason why, in most, modern economies, we have a dual system, right? We have a capitalist system. We also have a social system, right? The social system is meant it's meant to, I guess you could say, contain and check the more worse aspects of capitalism. For example, we have Social Security. We have unemployment, right? We have all these things meant to help contain some of the more exploitative and rough aspects of capitalism. And that's what, universal health care or quote unquote a much more in-depth and robust health care system with them, right? It would have created checkpoints, right? Safeguards. But if you don't got any safeguards, then what? And you just leave the healthcare system to just full on capitalism. Yes, corporations and companies they're going to squeeze your ass for every penny, and they're not going to care, right? Because capitalism naturally is about getting profits any means necessary, and it will squeeze everyone, especially the body will squeeze most people in order to extract all of that wealth for profits, and all of that will go to the top. Okay? Especially those corporations. So as far as I'm concerned, look, as long as the healthcare industry, first of all, as long as we are under this capitalist system, right, profits is always going to be taking precedence over people, right? Which is why we had to make all these safeguards like Social Security and unemployment to at least provide some level of protection against the more exploitative and brutal aspects of capitalism. And the same thing applies to the healthcare system, right? If you allow brutal, pure capitalism to run that system, guess what? Capitalism is going to make sure that every single, the average person in the healthcare system, right, is going to get squeezed, right, for profits. And the average person, right, is going to be the one getting run over, right? They're not going to care about y'all, right? These companies are going to try to squeeze them as much as they can within that healthcare system from you to make them profits. Because that's raw capitalism, right? Pure exploitation for profits. But if you at least put some reforms, whether it's universal healthcare or some kind of safeguards, you can at least contain the more exploitative nature of the capitalism. But because y'all do not want to have any reforms to that system, because y'all didn't want the blacks to benefit or the non-whites to benefit, that's great. That means that pure capitalism is going to run the healthcare system, and pure capitalism is going to squeeze y'all for every profit it can, and you are going to be the one that's going to get crushed, okay, getting destroyed by these health companies, getting destroyed by these corporations, and you're gonna cry about, oh my God, how corrupt it is, how you're being bankrupt. Yeah. That's pure capitalism. They're gonna squeeze every money out of you in that healthcare system until you got nothing left, and go throw it to the side. And you're going to be over there, out there with all this debt, with no money, being exploited by some, and nothing to do about it. At least if you had some safeguards that could protect you from the more exploitative nature of capitalism. Because she said, hey, I just want to stick it to the black and stick it to the non-white. So great. No reforms were made, and now the healthcare system is just purely capitalistic now, which means that the average person is going to get exploited. So I don't want to hear any complaints. And the same thing applies society-wise. At least on a societal level, we at least have some level of safeguards that will put into place. But when it comes to some of these industries where it's still where you still have a much more raw version of capitalism, yes, it's going to be exploitation. It's going to be exploitation. And unless you put some level of safeguards there to at least provide some protection, yeah, you're gonna run through. Same thing when it comes to it, right? If we removed all the safeguards, there will be if we removed all the safeguards we have in society, whether is minimum wage, whether it's labor laws, these corporations will be having y'all working 20 hours a day, $5 an hour. It's only because of these fucking even reforms, constraints, right? That at least force the capitalist system to at least moderate itself a little bit. Which is why when you look at some of these industries where there aren't any real safeguards, it's out of control, right? The price gouging, the exploitation out of control. And you're seeing that even in the health industry. That's what y'all complain about, right? It's that it's pure exploitation, right? They're squeezing every penny out of you. Because there's no safeguards. But y'all said you didn't want the safeguards. Y'all said you didn't want any reforms in the health system because you did not want the blacks and non-whites to benefit. Okay, that's great. So now you're going to deal with a predatory, exploitative healthcare system, right? That is completely fueled by raw capitalism, right? Which is purely exploitative and predatory. So you get what you deserve, right? You get a healthcare system that is now completely run by predatory, exploitative capitalism. It is what it is, and y'all have the audacity to complain about it. I don't want to hear. So to kind of end it off here, yeah. This not going to change, right? As long as capitalism is here, you're always going to have companies, and the system is always going to prioritize profits. The only thing you can do is put some level of reforms and some level of constraints to at least moderate the capitalist system, just like how we've done with Medicare, Social Security, labor laws and minimum wage, right? And so, unless y'all essentially, unless we agree to put some reforms in that healthcare industry to at least moderate the exploitative and predatory nature of capitalism, yeah, the healthcare industry is going to be completely run by it's going to be completely absorbed and run by exploitative predatory capitalism, which is going to squeeze profits out of you, at any cost necessary. Okay? So that's what's going to be. That's what it's going to be. And guess what? Even if you put those reforms in place, it'll make it better, but it won't fully eliminate the quote-unquote drive for profits. But it will at least provide some safeguards where, people are just not, at least where people are just not completely getting robbed, right, by the system, completely exploited, right? They'll have at least some safeguards. So, at the end of the day, when it comes to that healthcare thing, there's really only one. Look, when it comes to that healthcare thing, right, that healthcare service is caused by the brutal nature of capitalism. Okay? And the only way you're going to fix that issue is by putting some safeguards, right? Just like how we have safeguards in society when it comes to things like Social Security, Medicare, and labor laws. That's it. That's all you can do. So outside of putting some degree of safeguards in the healthcare industry to at least contain, outside of putting some degree of safeguards or some reforms in the healthcare industry to at least moderate the sort of, exploitative, brutal form of capitalism that exists there, nothing's going to change. As long as you have brutal capitalism in that healthcare industry, you're going to be fucked. Okay? And also keep in mind, even if you reform it, right, capitalism will still be there, profit, the drive for profits will still be there, but at least you will have some safeguards. That's it. So outside of that, I don't want to hear any fucking complaints. I don't. Right? I don't. Right? So either you implement some safeguards to moderate capitalism within the healthcare industry, or you accept a healthcare industry that is fully run by brutal, exploitative capitalism that is going to squeeze your ass to death for profits. That's it. And by the way, the society already has many of these reforms, right? It's just that the healthcare industry is one of those industries within a society where, capitalism is has been able to truly run rampant without any real constraints. So look, even though the broader society does have these quote unquote constraints, these safeguards in place, you still have various industries or various aspects where capitalism is still able to run, without any real safeguard, right? It's pure capitalism is able to run, in a fully exploitative and predatory way. And in those areas, unless you put some degree of constraints there or safeguards there, you won't get full predatory capitalism. So I'll leave it there. Hopefully this time around. But I have to say it again so y'all really get what I'm trying to say. At the end of the day, society already has these sort of checkpoints and safeguards to at least moderate capitalism. And when it comes to the healthcare industry, unless you put some degree of checkpoints, unless you put some degree of safeguards to moderate the raw, brutal, predatory capitalism in the healthcare industry, all you're going to get, all you're going to continue to get, because you've already gotten it, is just a healthcare industry run by raw, brutal capitalism. So either you put restraints to moderate the capitalism in the healthcare industry, or you get raw, brutal capitalism. There is no if ways about it. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Hopefully this is my final thought. Yeah, it's final thought. But with that being said, that's it. So yeah, all of this rhetoric about it's about class, not race. No, it's not. No, it's not. Right? I have literally showed you how white folks have literally allowed raw capitalism to run rampage, raw exploitative capitalism to run rampage in the healthcare industry just because they wanted to stick it to the blacks. Right? They were not willing to put the safeguards in place, in the healthcare industry to moderate capitalism so that, everyone could at least benefit, right? From a healthcare industry where capitalism is moderate, right? They want to do that because from their point of view, any reforms in the healthcare industry that moderates capitalism, making the healthcare industry better in general, would also benefit blacks and non-whites, and they want to do that. So they said that we would rather deal with raw, exploitative, brutal capitalism, which will harm us, instead of, putting in place checkpoints on capitalism within the healthcare industry in order to make the system better and benefit blacks, in order to make the system better, which would benefit us as well as black folks. So, as well as black folks and non-whites. So that's a choice. So this whole thing of it's about class, not race, no. Because they made it very clear that they are perfectly willing to allow and accept a healthcare industry run by brutal, exploitative capitalism just to stick it to the blacks. In other words, they're willing to work against their class interests, right, in order to, from their point of view, attack black people racially. That's it. And unless them white folks are willing to put them reforms in the healthcare industry and put them constraints and checkpoints on capitalism, yeah, all they're going to continue to get, which they have been getting, is raw, brutal, exploitative capitalism in the healthcare industry. So y'all can cut me with the bullshit. So all this rhetoric of it's about class, not race, shut the fuck up. It's always been race. It's always been race. And even this rhetoric of you saying it's about class, not race, is just you engaging in docile white supremacy because you don't want to address the white power structure, right? But I'll leave it right there. Hope y'all tell me in the chat what you guys think. But yeah, it just, whenever you hear a white leftist or someone on the white progressive or the white person on the left tell you that bullshit about it's about class, not race, tell them everything I told you in this video, right? Tell them everything I told you in this video, right? And list the examples. Because the reality is, it's actually the opposite. It's always been race over class. And with that being said, y'all, I'll leave it there. Y'all like, share, subscribe, hammer out.